Right. Let's dive into something making serious waves in India's democratic landscape. We're talking about the recent significant changes to how election commissioners are appointed, a topic absolutely crucial for anyone, especially you, looking to understand the mechanics of India's democracy.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here is how this one piece of legislation, the Chief Election Commissioner and Other Election Commissioners Act of 2023, has ignited such intense debate. For you, especially if you're preparing for competitive exams like UPSC, understanding these shifts and their implications isn't just important, it's essential. Our deep dive today will quickly break down the old versus the new appointment processes, and will highlight precisely why these changes are raising serious questions about the Election Commission of India's independence.
Okay, so before we really get into the why it matters, let's nail down the core facts first. What was the original setup for appointing election commissioners, and how exactly did this 2023 act fundamentally alter it?
Well, historically, there wasn't a specific parliamentary law for these appointments. It was more based on convention. The president would appoint the chief election commissioner, the CEC, and other ECs based on the prime minister's advice. That was pretty much the established practice. Now, the 2023 Act has created a specific statutory framework. And the biggest procedural shift, really, is that a three-member selection committee now finalizes these critical appointments.
Okay, a selection committee. And what's the standout change to who's on that committee, the one causing all the friction?
That's the key point. The most discussed, most impactful change is the removal of the Chief Justice of India, the CJI, from the selection committee. Under the new 2023 Act, the CJI has been replaced by a cabinet minister nominated by the Prime Minister. So the committee now is the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and a cabinet minister nominated by the PM.
Right. Okay. Here's where it really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The independence of the Election Commission. Why exactly are these specific changes sparking so much debate and concern?
The primary concern, and you hear this echoed widely, is about increased executive dominance. It boils down to the numbers. With the Prime Minister and a cabinet minister nominated by the PM on the committee, the government effectively holds 2 out of 3 votes.
2 out of 3.
Exactly. So the government has a clear majority in choosing the election commissioners. Now, this directly contrasts with the spirit, and indeed the letter, of the Supreme Court's 2023 judgment in the Anoop Baranwal case. That ruling came just months before the act, and it explicitly recognized the need for independent oversight. It actually mandated a balanced committee that included the CJI precisely to ensure neutrality in these critical appointments.
So the Supreme Court had just set up a system with the CJI for balance, and then the act changed it back to give the executive more say.
That's the sequence of events, yes. And that's why critics argue this new setup could deeply undermine the ECI's impartiality. Remember, the ECI's independence is constitutionally mandated. It's fundamental for free and fair elections.
Okay, so it's not just a procedural tweak. It feels like a fundamental shift in, well, who potentially controls the electoral oversight. How might that increased executive control actually manifest in the electoral process itself? What are the worries there?
Precisely. The worry is that this shift could lead to partisan oversight within the ECI. Think about core functions: voter registrations, setting election schedules, monitoring conduct during campaigns, enforcing the model code. If the body overseeing these feels beholden to the executive, it could potentially affect these processes. This could lead, down the line, to reduced voter trust and people questioning the credibility of elections themselves.
And is transparency also part of the concern?
Yes, that's another layer. There's concern about a new search committee introduced by the Act. This committee is made up of senior bureaucrats, essentially officials working under the government. They pre-screen candidates before the list even goes to the main selection committee.
Ah, so a sort of filtering stage happens before the leader of the opposition even sees the names.
Exactly. Critics point out this lack of public scrutiny or opposition input at that initial crucial screening stage. It creates a real risk of, let's call it, pre-selection bias. The worry is it could potentially reduce the ECI from an independent watchdog to, well, a body more aligned with the government's preferences.
And there was something about the separation of powers, too.
Right. There's a broader constitutional point being raised. The fact that Parliament passed this act, effectively overriding a specific Supreme Court directive from the Anoop Baranwal judgment through ordinary legislation, is itself controversial. It raises significant concerns about the legislature's power relative to the judiciary and whether it sets a precedent for potentially weakening judicial review on crucial matters. That separation of powers principle.
Okay, pulling this all together then. What does this really mean for the future? For India's democracy, for voter trust?
Well, if you connect the dots, these changes, especially altering the selection committee's composition away from the Supreme Court's suggested balance, pose significant challenges. Challenges to the ECI's perceived and actual independence, and therefore its ability to conduct elections that are seen by everyone as truly free and fair. And those free and fair elections, they're the bedrock of any robust democracy, aren't they?
Absolutely fundamental.
So it raises a really important question for you, the listener, to think about. In a system designed for checks and balances, just how vital is it that institutions meant to be impartial referees like the Election Commission truly stand apart for the players, particularly the executive? And perhaps more importantly, what role does an informed, engaged citizenry play in demanding and safeguarding that crucial independence? Something to really mull